Welcome back to PixelPromenade Intersections, bridging boundaries, co-creating tomorrow. I'm Nico Marzian, your host, and thank you for joining me again today. Urban mobility is one of the oldest collaboration problems we have. And this is not because of technology that wasn't existing in the past. Cities have been wrestling with the coordination of movement, goods, and people for as long as cities have existed. The Roman Empire ran a logistics operation across thousands of kilometers of road network. Medieval trading cities developed proto-intermodal hubs at their river ports. The problem was never primarily technical. It was always organizational. Today the technology has arrived in abundance. Sensors cover intersections. Vehicles carry radar, LiDAR, cameras, and GPS systems. Satellites provide navigation, weather, remote sensing, and communication at the same time. And yet, the city as a system still does not function as one. The delivery van blocks the cycle lane at 8 in the morning not because we lack the data to prevent it, but because the actors who hold that data are not talking to each other. Look at who is actually in the room. Cities and public administrations control infrastructure, regulation, and permits, and carry the political accountability for how public space is used. Mobility operators, that is, transit authorities, ride-sharing platforms, micro-mobility providers, each run their own platform, serve their own customer base, and protect their own data as a competitive asset. Logistics companies are under relentless pressure. Deliver more, faster, cheaper, while cities at the same time progressively restrict where and how they operate. Urban freight already accounts for between 20 and 50% of road space use in cities, and a significant and growing share of urban emissions, up to 40%, according to some sources I found. Energy providers are electrifying parts of the system on their own timelines. Technology companies are building layers on top of everything. And citizens are navigating the result, daily, on foot, on bikes, in cars, through the gaps. None of these actors is irrational. Each is optimizing for its own domain. The problem is that nobody is optimizing for the system. Several signals of developments are pointing clearly toward a different state. Vehicle-to-everything communication, or V2X, is one of them. Its concept is elegant. Vehicles share their position, speed, and sensor data with each other and with infrastructure in real time, enabling a 360-degree situational awareness that no single vehicle can achieve alone. Pilots have demonstrated real safety gains. In one US corridor study, V2X-equipped routes showed crash rate reductions roughly twice those of non-equipped routes. In a 2,800 vehicle naturalistic driving deployment, forward collision alerts fired on every single one of nearly 400 rear-end crash scenarios observed. And yet, large-scale deployment remains constrained. Not by the physics of wireless communication, but by the absence of agreed standards, shared governance, and cross-organizational data trust. A vehicle from one manufacturer needs to communicate seamlessly with infrastructure managed by a different public authority, running systems built by a third vendor. That requires interoperability. And interoperability is not a technical specification. It is a collaboration agreement. Mobility as a service is another signal. The vision is seamless. One journey, one app, any combination of tram, e-bike, train, or autonomous shuttle. Planned, booked, and paid in one place. Operators are moving toward this, cautiously. But the integration gets stuck where commercial interests go their separate ways, where sharing routing data with a competitor feels like strategic exposure rather than a contribution to a shared ecosystem. And then there's last mile logistics, arguably where the pressure is most acute. E-commerce demand continues to surge. Cities are tightening access restrictions. Alternative delivery models like cargo bikes, microhubs, autonomous delivery vehicles are being piloted across European and cities worldwide. Each pilot is promising. Too few of them are connected. What your phone shows you as a single journey, let's say from your front door to a meeting across the city, touches the operational domains of at least 4 or 5 separate organizations. The building manager, the urban mobility platform, the transit authority, the micromobility operator, the city. None of them designed their system for interoperability with the others. They designed it for their own function. This is what I would call the system of systems problem. Each actor has built a capable, well-engineered system. The gap is between the systems, in the handoffs, the missing data bridges, the uncoordinated decisions. And that gap is where most of the friction, the inefficiency, and the emissions actually come up. What this domain needs is not more technology deployed in silos. It needs the infrastructure to coordinate what already exists. A shared governance layer, the human function of brokering between actors whose incentives do not naturally align, the intelligence to establish models across datasets that nobody currently combines, and a mechanism that makes the exchange of data and capacity sustainable over time, rather than dependent on individual goodwill. Consider V2X again. Making it work at scale requires vehicle manufacturers, infrastructure operators, city administrations, standards bodies, and regulators to agree on data formats, privacy protocols, and liability frameworks across jurisdictional boundaries. That agreement does not write itself. Someone has to sit in the middle of all that, translate between engineering requirements and regulatory language, and keep the parties at the table long enough to reach a workable outcome. That is a people in the middle function, and it is currently either absent or performed informally by whoever shouts loudest, or does not duck away fast enough. Or consider the logistics company that reroutes its fleet in response to a city's roadworks data, reducing congestion on 3 corridors simultaneously. That is a contribution of real value to the city's traffic management system. Under the current model, it is invisible, just compliance. The question the framework raises is, what would it look like if that contribution were acknowledged, quantified, and rewarded with earlier access to permit consultations, or priority in the next infrastructure redesign? The flows of value are already there. The mechanism to make them visible, understandable, and manageable is what is missing. This domain does not live in isolation. The automotive industry is one of the primary actors shaping the V2X and autonomous driving landscape. And the collaboration problems of urban mobility are inseparable from the product and regulatory decisions being made by OEMs today. Circular economy principles are entering last-mile logistics through reverse logistics flows. The same vehicle that delivers a parcel could return packaging, components, or end-of-life goods, but only if the systems are designed to coordinate it. And satellite infrastructure for navigation, remote sensing, communication is already embedded in the sensing layer of the smart city. Connecting this domain directly to the domain of new space. So, the city has more data, more technology, and more operational capability than at any previous point in history. The collaboration infrastructure to make it work as a system is what has not kept pace. That is not a gap that more sensors will close. It is a gap that requires governance, human bridging functions, shared intelligence, and sustainable value exchange across boundaries that were never designed to be permeable. So build it. For now, please take care, and I will see you next time in the next episode. Thank you. Goodbye.